There is a quiet power that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't raise its voice, doesn't compete for attention, and doesn't need validation to exist. Yet when someone carries it, people feel it immediately. This power is not charisma in the performative sense, and it is not dominance built on fear. It is presence. It is psychological gravity. It is the kind of inner steadiness that makes others either lean in or feel deeply unsettled, often without knowing why. When your aura is powerful, it doesn't come from trying to impress. It comes from emotional regulation, self-trust, and a deep familiarity with your own inner world. Most people are not prepared to be around that kind of person because it reflects back what they have avoided in themselves. A strong aura begins with self-mastery, not self-promotion. People who are internally regulated do not rush to fill silence. They do not over-explain, overshare, or overreact. Their nervous system is not hijacked by every stimulus, and that alone sets them apart. Behavioral psychology tells us that humans are constantly scanning for cues of safety, authority, and coherence. When someone is emotionally consistent, grounded, and clear in their boundaries, the brain of others registers them as a force. Not because they demand attention, but because they don't need it. This lack of need creates psychological leverage. It signals that your sense of worth is internally sourced, not negotiated moment by moment through approval. One of the earliest signs that your aura is powerful is that people project onto you. They assume intentions you never stated, emotions you never expressed, or judgments you never made. This happens because presence acts like a mirror. When someone is calm and observant, it leaves space for others to reveal themselves unconsciously. People fill the silence with their insecurities, fears, and assumptions. They may say you are intimidating, cold, distant, or mysterious, when in reality you are simply regulated and self-contained. Their discomfort is not about you. It is about the absence of emotional chaos they are used to navigating and the presence of clarity they are not used to confronting. Another sign is that people test you, often subtly at first. They interrupt you, dismiss a point you made, make a small disrespectful joke, or challenge your boundaries in minor ways. This is not random. Humans instinctively test strength to understand hierarchy and safety. When someone senses quiet authority, they want to know whether it is real or performative. A powerful aura does not react impulsively to these tests. It responds with calm limits, steady eye contact, and consistency. That response communicates more than any argument ever could. It tells others that you are not easily destabilized, and that makes many people uncomfortable. You may also notice that your presence changes the energy of a room without effort. Conversations slow down when you speak. People either become more self-aware or more defensive. Some feel seen, others feel exposed. This is because emotional intelligence sharpens perception. When you listen fully, when you are not distracted by the need to be liked, people feel the weight of your attention. Attention is power. Most people are used to fragmented, shallow interactions where no one is fully present. When they encounter someone who is actually there, fully embodied and observant, it disrupts their usual patterns. Psychologically, this disruption triggers one of two responses: regulation or resistance. Regulated individuals feel calmer around you. They feel safe, understood, and grounded. Dysregulated individuals feel threatened. They may withdraw, criticize, or attempt to dominate. This is not because you did anything wrong. It is because your nervous system is offering a level of stability they do not yet possess. Your aura highlights the gap between who they are and who they want to be, and not everyone is ready to look at that gap honestly. A powerful aura is often misunderstood because it does not perform warmth for comfort. It is warm, but it is not appeasing. It is kind, but it is not self-sacrificing. It is confident, but it does not boast. Many people equate friendliness with safety and confidence with arrogance. When you are quietly confident, you disrupt those simplistic categories. You don't rush to reassure others, and you don't shrink to make them comfortable. This forces them to regulate themselves, which is something many adults never fully learn to do. Another sign is that people listen to you differently even when you say very little. Your words carry weight because they are not excessive. Behavioral psychology shows that scarcity increases perceived value. When you speak selectively, thoughtfully, and without emotional charge, people pay attention. They may not always agree with you, but they remember what you say. This is the effect of congruence. Your body language, tone, and words align. There is no internal contradiction. Humans instinctively trust coherence, even when it challenges them. You may also find that people either respect you deeply or avoid you entirely. There is often very little middle ground. A powerful aura polarizes. It does not blend into the background. People who value growth, honesty, and self-responsibility are drawn to it. People who rely on manipulation, chaos, or emotional dependency are repelled by it. This is not something you need to fix or soften. It is a natural outcome of living in alignment with yourself. Trying to make everyone comfortable only dilutes your presence and creates internal friction. One of the most overlooked signs is that you feel increasingly comfortable being alone. Not isolated, not withdrawn, but content in your own company. This is a psychological marker of internal security. When your sense of self is stable, you do not need constant stimulation or validation. Solitude becomes restorative instead of threatening. Ironically, this comfort with aloneness often increases your influence because it removes desperation from your interactions. You choose connections rather than clinging to them. People with powerful auras often experience delayed recognition. They are not always immediately celebrated. Sometimes they are overlooked at first, underestimated, or even subtly resisted. This is because their power is not loud. It does not announce itself with charm or theatrics, but over time, consistency reveals itself. Calm authority outlasts noise. Emotional discipline outlasts charisma. And when situations become stressful or uncertain, people naturally look toward the ones who remain steady. It is important to understand that having a powerful aura does not mean life becomes easier. In many ways, it becomes more demanding. You are held to higher standards, often without asking for it. People expect clarity from you, composure from you, and strength from you. This can feel heavy if you are not grounded in your own boundaries. That is why self-regulation is not optional. It is the foundation. Without it, power becomes exhausting. With it, power becomes sustainable. As you grow into this presence, you may notice a reduced tolerance for superficiality. Small talk feels draining. Performative interactions feel hollow. You crave depth, honesty, and substance. This is not arrogance. It is alignment. Your nervous system is attuned to authenticity, and anything less feels discordant. This can create distance from people you once connected with, but it also creates space for more meaningful connections to emerge. The first sign your aura is too powerful for most people is not how they react to you, but how you relate to yourself. You are less reactive, less defensive, and less willing to betray your own values for approval. You trust your internal signals. You pause before responding, you choose your words, and you accept that not everyone will understand you. This acceptance is not resignation. It is strength. It is the beginning of embodied authority, the kind that does not need to prove itself because it is already anchored within. As your presence strengthens, the way others respond to you becomes more revealing than anything they say. People do not react to power the way they react to friendliness. Power exposes patterns. It highlights motivations. It draws out behaviors that were already there, waiting for the right trigger. When your aura is strong, you will notice that some people become unusually attentive around you. They listen closely, mirror your tone, and seek your approval without you asking for it. This is not because you are controlling them. It is because humans are wired to orient themselves around stability. Your calm becomes a reference point, and their nervous system adjusts itself in relation to yours. At the same time, others will do the opposite. They may interrupt you more, challenge you unnecessarily, or subtly compete with you. This is not confidence on their part. It is insecurity responding to perceived hierarchy. Behavioral psychology shows that when people feel internally uncertain, they attempt to regain control externally. Your composed energy threatens their usual strategies for dominance, manipulation, or attention seeking. Instead of engaging directly, they may use sarcasm, dismissal, or passive aggression. This is not something to confront emotionally, it is something to observe. Awareness is your advantage. You don't need to win the interaction. You need to remain regulated within it. A powerful aura also changes the way people disclose information to you. Some overshare without realizing why. Others withhold and become guarded. Oversharing happens because your presence signals containment. You listen without judgment, without rushing to fix or react. That creates a sense of safety that invites honesty. Guarded behavior happens because your presence signals perception. People sense that you see more than you say. They are aware, even unconsciously, that they cannot perform as easily around you. Masks feel heavier in your presence, and not everyone is ready to remove them. You may notice that people remember small details about interactions with you, even when the interaction itself was brief. This is because emotionally regulated presence increases salience. The brain prioritizes experiences that feel meaningful, calm, or grounding. You are not memorable because you are dramatic. You are memorable because you are coherent. There is no emotional whiplash in your energy. What people experience with you matches what they observe. This congruence creates trust, even when people don't fully understand it. Another effect of a strong aura is that people attribute leadership to you without you seeking it. They ask your opinion. They wait for your response before deciding. They defer to your judgment in moments of uncertainty. This can feel surprising, especially if you are not trying to lead. But leadership at its core is not about control. It is about emotional steadiness under pressure. Humans instinctively look to those who remain calm when things feel unstable. Your nervous system becomes a guidepost, and that naturally elevates your influence. However, influence also attracts projection. Some people will idealize you. They will assume you are stronger than you feel, more confident than you are, less affected than you actually might be. This can create unrealistic expectations. It is important to remember that projection is not connection. Being admired from a distance is not the same as being understood. A powerful aura can create a sense of mystery that others fill in with fantasy. Staying grounded in your humanity protects you from internalizing these distortions. On the other end of the spectrum, some people will attempt to diminish you. They may downplay your accomplishments, question your intentions, or subtly undermine your credibility. This is a defense mechanism. When someone feels small in the presence of strength, they try to shrink the source of that feeling. This is not personal, it is psychological. Your job is not to correct their perception. Your job is to remain consistent. Consistency is what exposes insecurity over time. You will also notice that conflict behaves differently around you. Some conflicts dissolve quickly, others escalate unexpectedly. Calm authority does not invite chaos, but it also does not tolerate it. People who rely on emotional volatility to control situations lose leverage in your presence. This can cause them to intensify their behavior temporarily, hoping to provoke a reaction. When that reaction doesn't come, the dynamic shifts. Silence, when used intentionally, is not avoidance. It is regulation. It communicates boundaries without words. A strong aura often makes people more aware of themselves. They may comment on feeling nervous, self-conscious, or unusually focused around you. This is because emotional regulation is contagious. The nervous system mirrors what it encounters. When yours is calm and alert, it invites others to become more conscious of their own internal state. For some, this feels grounding. For others, it feels uncomfortable. Growth and discomfort often coexist, and not everyone is willing to choose growth. You may also find that people test your generosity. They ask for favors, emotional labor, or access to your time. Power attracts need. It is essential to recognize that not every request deserves a yes. Saying no without guilt is part of maintaining your aura. Overgiving erodes presence. Resentment leaks through energy faster than words. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They protect the quality of your attention, which is your most valuable resource. Another subtle effect is that people often assume you are unbothered, even when you are processing internally. Because you do not externalize every emotion, others may underestimate your sensitivity. This is why self-compassion matters. Strength does not mean suppression. Emotional regulation means you choose when and where to process, not that you don't feel. Creating private spaces for emotional honesty keeps your public presence clean and grounded. As your aura becomes more established, you may experience periods of loneliness even while being respected. Not everyone knows how to relate to calm authority. Some feel unsure of how to engage without performing or pleasing. Others assume you don't need support. This is where discernment becomes important. Seek relationships where presence is mutual, where you are not always the container. Power shared is sustaining. Power carried alone becomes heavy. You may notice that certain environments no longer tolerate you. Dysfunctional systems rely on confusion, emotional reactivity, and blurred boundaries. Your clarity threatens those systems. You may be labeled as difficult, aloof, or uncompromising simply because you do not participate in chaos. This is not a failure of adaptability. It is a sign of alignment. Outgrowing environments is a natural consequence of self-mastery. A powerful aura also sharpens your intuition. You sense shifts in tone, inconsistencies in behavior, and unspoken dynamics more clearly. This is not mystical, it is neurological. When you are regulated, your perception improves. You are not distracted by internal noise, so you can read external cues accurately. Trusting this perception without becoming paranoid is a delicate balance. Awareness should lead to clarity, not hypervigilance. Perhaps the most telling sign of all is that people feel changed after interacting with you, not because you taught them something explicitly, but because your presence reminded them of something within themselves. Calm authority invites reflection. It doesn't demand transformation, but it makes stagnation uncomfortable. Some will thank you for that, others will resent you for it. Both reactions confirm the same truth. Your energy has impact. Understanding how your aura affects others is not about managing their reactions. It is about staying anchored in yourself, regardless of those reactions. Influence without self-betrayal requires discipline. It requires knowing when to engage and when to step back. It requires letting people feel what they feel without rushing to soothe or explain. Your role is not to be palatable. It is to be coherent. As you move forward, the challenge is not increasing your power. It is embodying it without shrinking, apologizing, or performing. The final sign of a truly powerful aura is not how others respond, but how little their reactions dictate your behavior. When you can remain calm, clear, and self-directed in the presence of admiration, resistance, or misunderstanding, you step fully into quiet authority. That is where presence becomes unshakable and influence becomes effortless. There comes a point where having a powerful aura is no longer something you notice through others, but something you experience as internal stillness. You stop scanning the room for approval. You stop preparing explanations in advance. You stop rehearsing how to justify your choices. Calm authority settles in when you trust yourself enough to let silence do its work. This is not indifference. It is confidence rooted in self-knowledge. You know what you stand for, and that clarity removes the urge to convince anyone else of your worth or intentions. One of the clearest signs of embodied authority is the ability to remain composed under misunderstanding. People will misinterpret you. They will assign motives you do not have and meanings you did not intend. The instinct to correct them can be strong, especially if you value fairness. But calm authority recognizes when clarification is useful and when it is performative. Not every misunderstanding requires your energy. Sometimes allowing others to sit with their assumptions reveals more than any explanation ever could. As your presence deepens, you become selective with your emotional labor. You listen without absorbing. You empathize without rescuing. You care without overfunctioning. This balance protects your nervous system and preserves your clarity. Behavioral psychology tells us that people often confuse emotional availability with emotional responsibility. Calm authority understands the difference. You are not responsible for managing other people's feelings about your boundaries, your growth, or your standards. You also stop apologizing for your tone when your tone is calm. You stop softening your words to prevent discomfort. You stop shrinking your opinions to fit into conversations that were never meant to hold depth. This does not make you harsh, it makes you honest. People who are accustomed to emotional cushioning may react strongly at first, but over time, honesty delivered without aggression becomes grounding, even if it challenges them. Another sign of quiet confidence is patience. You no longer rush outcomes or force alignment. You allow people to reveal who they are through consistency or inconsistency. You watch behavior over time instead of clinging to potential. This patience is not passive. It is discerning. It reflects trust in your ability to walk away from what does not align without needing closure, confrontation, or validation. You may notice that your body language becomes simpler, fewer gestures, slower movements, steadier eye contact. Your voice settles into its natural rhythm. This is not something you practice deliberately. It happens when your internal state stabilizes. The body mirrors the mind. When there is less internal conflict, there is less external noise. Others feel this before they understand it. Living with a powerful aura also means accepting solitude as a season, not a sentence. There may be times when few people can meet you at your level of depth, honesty, and regulation. Instead of lowering your standards, you deepen your relationship with yourself. You invest in growth, learning, and stillness. This solitude strengthens your foundation so that when aligned connections appear, you can meet them without fear or over-attachment. Calm authority does not seek to dominate spaces. It allows space. You no longer need to be the loudest, the fastest, or the most impressive. Your presence is enough. You listen more than you speak. When you do speak, it is intentional. This economy of words makes people lean in. Silence becomes a tool, not a void. It communicates confidence without confrontation. You also become comfortable with being disliked for reasons that have nothing to do with you. Someone may feel challenged simply because you exist without apology. They may project rigidity, coldness, or arrogance onto you because your self-respect highlights their self-doubt. You do not internalize these narratives. You observe them with curiosity rather than defensiveness. This emotional distance protects your clarity. A powerful aura is sustained by integrity. You do what you say you will do. You follow through. You correct yourself privately. You do not perform accountability publicly for praise. This consistency builds trust quietly over time. People may not always like you, but they know where you stand. Predictability in values creates safety, even in disagreement. You also stop explaining your boundaries. You state them once, calmly, and you enforce them through action. Repeated explanations often signal uncertainty. Calm authority trusts that clarity does not need repetition. If someone continues to push, you adjust your access, not your standards. This teaches others how to treat you without lectures or ultimatums. As you embody this presence, your life simplifies. Drama loses its grip. Chaos feels unnecessary. You gravitate toward environments and relationships that value emotional maturity. This is not avoidance, it is alignment. You understand that peace is not something you earn after proving yourself. It is something you choose by honoring yourself. The final sign that your aura is too powerful for most people is that you no longer need it to be understood. You know who you are. You know what you bring. You know what you will and will not tolerate. This self-trust allows you to move through the world with steadiness. You are open, but not porous. Confident, but not rigid. Calm, but not detached. You do not chase respect. You command it through consistency. You do not demand space. You hold it naturally. And you do not fear being alone, misunderstood, or underestimated, because your sense of self is not negotiated externally. This is quiet confidence. This is emotional mastery. This is presence that does not need permission. When you live this way, your aura speaks before you do. It sets the tone. It establishes the boundary. It invites the right people closer and gently repels what does not align. You are no longer trying to be powerful. You are simply being yourself, fully, calmly, and without apology. That is what makes your presence unforgettable.